Hi, I'm Brandon. I love Hallmark wedding movies.
I'm Brian. I like Hallmark wedding contract movies.
I'm Dan, and I despise Hallmark wedding movies.
I'm Jonathan, and I have Rachmanis for Hallmark movies in general.
And this is the Take the Hallmark podcast.
Deck the Hallmark, it's his podcast. Brandon and friends host this podcast. We hope you like this jolly podcast.
Well, hello, everybody.
Is it Christmas already?
It's not Christmas. Jonathan Shapiro's here, though. I wrote a bot that anytime a Hallmark synopsis gets released and the word Jewish is in it, it automatically emails Jonathan Shapiro and invites him on the show. It's the best thing I've ever done.
And it works.
And
So
it
he
works
gets
every time.
3 emails a year on 100 movies.
Tops.
He gets 3 emails a year.
Tops.
That's
Yeah. Jonathan, welcome back to the show.
Well, it's a thrill to see the three of you out of custody.
Well, it's great to be out of custody. I will say this week, Dan, we're celebrating our fifth year.
5th year.
Of starting this podcast this week or next week. I don't know. Everything's a blur.
Technically, by the end of next week, we would have 5 years.
But and Jonathan has joined us every one of those years.
Every single year.
And we haven't gotten canceled. We haven't been told to stop.
That's right.
And so why stop now? Why stop now?
But also, let's be honest, it hasn't taken off.
No.
I take that back, Jonathan. We get more emails raving about you than any other guest. We also get more complaint emails about you than any other guest, but they're not many.
Why should this be any different than every other episode?
More than fair. This is the top of the show, and I want to get this out of the way first and foremost. Please. And by out of the way, I mean really focus the majority of our time. You have written something, a very important piece of literature that I know you are dying to talk about. And it's not about Deck the Hallmark, even though you could have. It's not about me. It's not about Dan. It's not about any of that. It's about some dead guy. So I do want you to promote this book right out of the gate here.
Please.
Wow. So I don't know why you think it's funny to hurt people. I don't go that way. That's not my way. And so, yes, hi, kids. It's me. It's Jonathan. And I wrote a book, which I threatened I would write last time I was with you guys.
That's right.
It's true.
And it's about a little fella I like to call Abraham Lincoln, which I know is fighting words down there in South Carolina.
Oh, boy.
But there are those. And the book is called How to Be Abe Lincoln, 7 Steps Toward a Legendary Life. There's 60,000 books that have been published about Abe Lincoln. This is the only self-help book. It's comes with a money-back guarantee, if you can find me. And I think it's a great book, and you should all buy it for a couple reasons. One, all the money will go to me.
That's a good reason.
Yeah.
And I have financial needs. I'm a Writers Guild member. I'm on strike. The next step for me is prostitution.
Wow.
You want me on the streets and not doing unspeakable things for change at Union Station, you'll buy the
Don't threaten the listeners with a good time.
Wow.
I don't know. That sounds tempting.
When does this book come out? And this is serious. We're not. I know like 90% of what you say is a joke. This is not a joke. This is a real book. It really is coming out.
Mm-hmm.
My third book. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Have you somehow? I'm the real deal. I'm the OG. I'm the original Jew. I'm the original writer. What is this? What is this condescension?
That's not I don't want people to think
being really mean.
No,
I'm not
he doesn't
being
think books
mean.
get written anymore.
I don't want people to think that this is just another funny thing.
I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to tell you what no one has the guts to tell you. Panda left because of the disrespect.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Finally.
He doesn't have 2 children. He told you that he's to raise the kids. There are no kids.
It's true.
I will say this. We've all been terrified to say it. Brand rules with an iron fist around.
I do.
He's really mean, Jonathan. And I thank you for pointing it out.
No, it's the passive-aggressive ones with the nice beard and the soft feminine voice that you got to be careful of. Because
That's in every
It's the
psychology.
That
it's
was-
the little jabs that he
that
gets
was
in there, the
layered.
best.
That was
It's not
layered.
the big overtures.
But
It's
when
the
does
little jabs.
when does the book come out?
The Lincoln book will be available in October. It makes a wonderful gift. It's ecumenical. If you have anybody in your life that you like, you love, anybody in your life that maybe you're not that familiar with, you should buy them this book. It's the perfect book. You should buy several copies. Thank you.
Are you doing the
Yeah.
audio?
Available on
Oh, that's cool.
Amazon, Abe Lincoln book. Go ahead and buy it.
Are you going to do the audio book, Jonathan? Are you going to read that bad boy?
I just did. That was it.
That was
perfect.
it.
Wow.
Perfect.
This is exciting.
Not a long
No,
one.
This is
it's a
exciting.
Short book. I feel like you could just get that for free.
No, I am going to. No, there's contracts for that. They pay a professional person. to do that.
Well, I don't know. And you could have also said, hey, you should talk to Brian, you should talk to Dan. You didn't do that either. I feel like we have a good thing going here, but listen.
Yeah, no, you would be the perfect guy for it because Lincoln had a kind of a soft-spoken, civilish kind of a feminist. And
Yeah, he was higher pitched. That's true.
he's much higher pitched. Daniel Day-Lewis. In Lincoln, if you notice, he's actually sounds like Ned Flanders from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Chapter 1. Well, I'm excited to.
All right, good night, guys.
I'm excited for
All
Dan
right.
to read it and tell me all about it. I think it's going
I
to be.
will be reading
It's
it,
going to be
Jonathan.
wonderful. It's going to be
I'm
wonderful.
And I'll be doing a book tour, and I will be going through South Carolina. So I'm looking forward to the live actual meeting for the first time in 5 years of us.
If you come to South Carolina on the book tour, Jonathan, we're
100%.
gonna make it.
We're going to party hard.
We're doing it.
We're gonna swap paint.
love
Is that a euphemism they use down there?
I think
I
if you
hope
swap
not.
paint, you actually get in a car accident. That's what that means down
We can
there.
do that.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
We could do that.
My safe word, by the way, is great.
We are talking about the wedding contract today, which I'm very excited about. You guys want to dive into it?
I do.
Okay, great. In case you missed it, it originally aired on June 17th, 2023, and it went a little something like this. Rebecca is reading a book, maybe an Abe Lincoln book. I think it was actually Jane Austen, but whatever. Tomatoes. On a bench. She's fully extended. You know how when you're reading a book on a public bench, you basically lay down?
Yeah.
That's what she was doing, and she accidentally tripped a fella named Adam. Adam's not upset about this after seeing that she is apparently the woman of his dreams. We see a bunch of sketches showing them dating, kind of showing us their story as the credits begin to roll for the movie. And it's a fun little way to fast forward a bit. Cuts back to real life. They've been dating for about 6 months, and she invites him to her parents' house for the Shabbat dinner. Did I nail that?
You
Did I nail it?
It sounded
Thank you. And the dinner is a big hit. Adam is head over heels in love, and he is ready to propose. So he brings her to the bench that they met at, and he has had it engraved, and she is like, this is amazing. He gets on a knee, and she says yes. His mom comes into town and is going to be joining the family as they begin to wedding plan. And his mom and her mom don't necessarily gel. They are completely different people. They're talking about the wedding, and they find out that there's an opening at the synagogue in just a handful of weeks. So we got a lot to do and not a lot of time. They go to meet with the rabbi, and the rabbi has them take a test about how well they know each other, and they don't do as well as they hoped that they would. While Rebecca...
You butch up the voice. Just butch it up.
Butch it up a little.
Okay, I'll butch it up a little bit.
That's a bass.
2 clicks more.
Okay, I got it.
Go.
While Rebecca is busy planning the wedding.
That was like 10 clicks.
Okay. What?
That seems like you had a stroke. I'm sorry. My fault. Just a little deeper, a little
Okay,
faster. Just a
Okay.
little-
While Rebecca is busy planning the wedding, Adam is busy getting a new contract for the ad agency that he works for. The newest client is happy to have him on board on one condition: he moves out to L.A. to run the L.A. office and handle the campaign himself.
That's masculine to you means Jimmy.
It sounded like
That's a good
Jimmy Stewart by way of Kennedy.
Just let me live my life. Rebecca's totally cool with all of this. The hardest part of the wedding planning is the moms. They are just all constantly throwing things at her. Are you saying something again? Is he talking?
Yeah.
It's a little white.
Jonathan, do you want me to get through this?
I do so much. So
I'm
much.
trying. So
I see my role.
I'm trying.
I owe you.
there.
I'm trying.
Oh my gosh,
I'm trying. I'm Bran.
guys,
Man.
I just want someone to be nice to me today. That's all I want. So
You
It's horrible. It's as bad as it was before.
you want
The guy from Massachusetts. He doesn't talk.
you want somebody to be nice to you, and you said that this guy wrote a book about some old dead guy.
yes,
All right, just
yes, I
making
did.
sure. All right, okay, go ahead.
Which is not factually incorrect.
It isn't.
Last I heard, Abe Lincoln's still dead.
Yeah.
He wasn't that old though.
Okay.
But today he would have, like, if he
if
was
he
still
kept
living,
living.
he would be
Yeah.
very old.
course.
Anyway, yes, so they're doing the wedding planning. The moms are still giving all their opinions about how everything, and they don't agree on anything. To make matters worse, Adam's job is taking him to LA more and more and more, including the week of the wedding. There's travel problems getting home, and he ends up being late for the rehearsal, and Rebecca is less than thrilled. If he doesn't have time for the wedding, will he have time for the marriage? That's a question that she is pondering right now. She's thinking about calling the whole thing off, but after a little motherly intervention, he runs over to her house, reproposes, and the next day he tells his boss that he's not going to LA. But she also goes and resigns because she thinks that they're moving to LA. So it's classic. It's a classic. We're both going to do something for the other person to show that we love each other, and then nothing's going to work out. And so they end up talking about it. They sign the wedding contract. Then his best friend is like, "Hey, good news. The client still wants you no matter what. You can stay in Chicago. She can keep teaching the kid that she teaches, and everything's going to turn out great." They end up getting married. He breaks the glass. They have the reception, and everybody's happy. And that, my friends, was the wedding contracts.
We did it.
We did do it. We did do it. Eventually, we got through it. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll break this movie down with 4 segments with Jonathan Shapiro here on Deck the Hallmark. Welcome back, everybody. We're talking about The Wedding Contract, the latest Hallmark movie, part of their June Weddings series.
Yeah.
Let's start with a hot take. Let's start with Brian. Brian, you watched it.
I did.
You have thoughts. I'd love to hear them. What did you think about The Wedding
Wedding
Contract?
contract, sure. So we were all really high on this movie during our preview. It was the highest one. We were the highest rating. We gave it 12 and a half wedding veils.
So
the most wedding veils.
We love the Jake Epstein.
We love the
We
Jake
think
Epstein.
Jake Epstein is wonderful. Can do no wrong.
That's right. And we thought it would be fresh and fun.
Fresh and fun.
It did have its moments, I would say. And I liked Jake Epstein. I thought did great. I thought Becca Tobin was great. I thought all the cast was really good. Everybody did a good job. The cast, the filming, the writing, all the stuff was good. It was just a tad boring as we got into it, which as a wedding planning inherently is pretty predictable.
Yeah.
You know, you got certain things you're gonna have to do, and so you kind of know what's coming. Add contract talk to the mix is just a tough battle to make that interesting for the entire time. It was really funny. I laughed out loud a number of times. You definitely learned some cool things about the ceremony that go on.
Yep.
But I would just found myself kind of just a little bit. It was dragging a bit, unfortunately, for me. And so I had hints of The Calling, I would say, and that Jake Epstein's character had like quirks, just like the lead actor in The Calling on the Peacock. If you,
We got it.
I see what he did. I see
Oh,
what you
the
did.
calling on Peacock.
yeah, have you heard of this one?
Yeah.
What?
That
He wasn't funny and he wasn't insightful, but he didn't suck up.
I actually enjoy The Calling. I have been enjoying The Calling.
And you're the
me.
one.
It's me.
And I thank you very much.
It's me who started and stopped episode 1 55 times.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
So
Okay.
overall funny.
But that was a user interface error. Like,
Yeah.
Peacock's
That's
not the
Peacock. That's on
easiest.
Peacock.
Yeah,
That's
not
not
the
on-
easiest.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. I can't take the blame. So I thought it was funny. It was a good time, but it was just kind of a slog.
All right.
A little bit of a slog.
Jonathan Shapiro.
Let's hear it.
What'd you
Take it
think?
away.
Wedding contract.
I kept waiting and hoping that the Cossacks would come in and have a pogrom and destroy the whole thing, which can't be a good sign. You didn't ask me what the Yiddish word was that I opened with. Rachmanis.
I'm always concerned to ask, but yeah, sure. Go ahead and explain.
But when you didn't ask, I thought, well, we've known each other long enough. You must know Yiddish now. But Rachmanis, which is a great Yiddish term, means empathy, to have pity
Wow.
for someone. So I had Rachmanis for the people involved in this movie because I think their hearts were in the right place. I think they wanted to make a romantic movie like the Gentiles do. I think they wanted to be accepted in America and they wanted to feel like they had the independent freedom. I think they made a mistake casting only Irish Catholic people in the movie.
I wasn't going to say anything, but Becca Tobin, 100% Irish.
The fact that you love Epstein as the Steppenfetchit Jew of the Canadian Hallmark universe says more about you than it does about him. I felt my hot take was this. If you have a movie about Jews and you decide to have a father having a pastrami sandwich, and then you make the decision to have him eat it with a knife and fork, then I don't feel badly about what happened. I feel good.
Hey, Jonathan, I want to point out that Jake Epstein is in the one movie that you've given a positive review to on this program, The 8 Gifts of Hanukkah. He's the lead opposite Inbar Lavi. I just want to be clear.
I stand by that. I think he's a marvelous idea of what a Jew looks like in the mind.
Fair.
And by that, I mean, he's nervous. He's physical. He ran track in Northwestern. My fat.
That's nicer than what I said.
So yeah, he's an acceptable Jew. You would rather think we're all like that instead of the masculine, threatening, sexual.
Yeah, of course. There he is.
He's back.
I broke the podcast. I'm sorry.
Too masculine.
no,
It was
Right.
to the masculine sexual dynamo.
Yeah.
That's where you were. That's where you left off.
Yes. Yes.
I just want to apologize. I haven't been feeling well lately. When are we going to start the show?
Okay.
Any minute.
Got it. So the first minute and a half of this movie, I'm like, this is something special.
Sure.
I loved the meet cute right away. I thought that was special. I loved the way in which they showed the first part of their relationship through the sketchings. I thought that while the credits were rolling, I thought that was really, really well done. And then what we get for the next hour is literally wedding planning, which anybody who has planned a wedding
Sucks.
knows that that's probably the worst part of your relationship.
100%.
It is awful. It's not fun. And that's what we get. And with the occasional body weights, the smoothie commercial thrown in there.
Trainer, yeah.
I clearly knew what that company was. Overall, I really liked the performances. And I thought as far as just a movie that you're literally planning a wedding in, it was fine. It's just that I don't really want to relive that. And so that it was a lot of wedding planning. So that was unfortunate for me. So the performances and all of that was wonderful, but it was just a little too much wedding planning for me. Dano?
It was a lot too much wedding planning for me. I have been married for coming up on 17 years, have been with my wife for over 20. The 8 months of wedding planning and being engaged was the worst part of that relationship. It was tough. That stuff is so much. and it feels like something's always going wrong. The 20 minutes until they get engaged, it takes 20 minutes for them to get engaged. That 20 minutes is a pretty like solid representation of what one of these movies can be. The next hour's insufferable. It is unwatchable. Everyone is over it. Like even Becca Tobin is over exaggerated as someone who's just fine with whatever her fiance wants to do. And then the mother-in-laws, like all of it was just like, I was twitching by the end of that hour. It was a really good first 20 minutes, a really terrible next hour. And I don't think that's how they intended for this thing to come off. But it did come off that way.
I didn't realize until I heard you, your hatred of Jews.
Oh my God.
There it is.
I mean, honest to God, do you hear yourself? The hatred?
I swear. No, I don't, Jonathan, please.
Do you think we're going to replace you? Really? Is that what you think?
Wow.
I mean, I hate to say it. We have a little more ambition than replacing you, my friend.
I didn't hear myself say that, Jonathan, but I'm happy.
No, I know. And that's the first
That's the problem. That's right.
We can want the hatred.
That's right. Yeah. You would think over the last 4 years that I would have gotten better. Yeah. And yet I haven't.
It's getting worse. No, it's getting worse.
It's getting worse. Yeah.
Blame George Soros for the movie. I mean, why don't you go along with it?
Yeah. No. You know,
I'm with Jonathan on this.
I'm doing the best I can. Jonathan hates it. Totally fine.
Yeah.
I hate it. No.
No.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Finally, that's a good first step.
Yeah. 100%. Let's get to all the feels. This is where we talk about anything in this movie that gave us feels.
Yeah.
Brian, any feels for you, bud?
Yeah, a couple here. So first, obviously, the Abe Lincoln book, Jonathan's.
Of course.
I mean, of
author,
course.
that
It's a
coming out.
self-help
So,
Abe Lincoln book.
Have not heard.
What's
First
not
of
to
its
love?
kind.
First of its
First of its
kind.
kind.
I'm starting to. I'm warming up to it. First of all,
Panda who?
how nice to see a guy with clear jawline
Right?
and a masculine face.
Yeah.
I can go real low too on that.
He
movie.
can.
Oh, God.
He sing whenever we sing. He sings the bass.
He
That
sings
is
the
true.
bass. That's true.
That's true.
I tell you, I'm glad I'm sitting down because I'm excited. If you know what I mean.
Somebody tripping over my extended feet anywhere is one of my irrational fears. I
Brian, you are every bit of 5'10". I don't know what you're worried about.
dude, everywhere I go, if I have my feet out, my first thought is somebody's gonna trip over these things. I gotta pull these in, and I sit whether I'm uncomfortable or not. I keep my feet out of the way. It's just something I'm always aware of, cognizant of. If somebody else has their feet out, I'm just counting down the seconds till somebody trips. I don't know what it is. It's just like a hazard that is made up out of nothing, out of nowhere, that could cause a problem at any time. And so when she did that and he tripped, it was almost satisfying. I was like, I told you. See, look what can happen. So that was that really kind of like spoke to my heart there, and I like that a lot. And I really like the intro of it. The way they did that, immediately I'm like, oh, the breakup. I love this. And then they go through the movie, and it was based in Chicago, just like the breakup, which I was like, oh, that's really well done. So I just really love that intro. It got us up to speed in a way that most of these movies don't, and skipped a lot of the stuff. So I thought that gave me feels.
I had to get to that wedding planning as soon as we could.
Just immediately.
Didn't want to waste any time.
So the way that was done, really, really good. You're right. After that, dropped off a cliff a little bit. But that
dropped off a cliff a little bit.
A little bit.
Jonathan, what you got? Any feels?
Yes. I felt unsafe when they kissed in the beginning because that felt transgressive. I don't usually see them kiss in the beginning, so I didn't feel I was in a safe space. Sure. And then I actually did get a little emotional seeing the ketubah, seeing the wedding contract. If you would care to share it with our friend who's watching the show, my actual wedding contract.
Love this.
That I signed 26 years ago.
Paper's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
I like the frame.
Now, did you, in the movie, we see them look at a lot of different types of paper and the way that it could be designed. Was that a part of your wedding planning as well?
Yeah. As boring as it was in the movie, that's how boring it was in real life.
That's accurate.
That was very real to life. You know what's interesting about the wedding ketubah? If you look at the language of it, we establish what the wedding safe word will be. which for us is pork loin. We know that if someone says pork loin, we stop. Secondly, Taco Tuesday is part of our but no, what I like about the ketubah, what I like about the wedding contract is we're a people of the book and a people of the word. And when you're in law school, you learn that every contract is a combination of an offer and acceptance and consideration. There's something very beautiful. My contract professor, the great Jack Koons, used to talk about the beauty of a contract is two human beings trying to establish their best selves through an enforceable agreement. And so when I look at that wedding contract and I see that for the groom, there's an obligation to behave in the way that Jewish men have treated Jewish women through the ages, I find that meaningful. And I just lost my dad 10 weeks ago, and he had been married to my mom for 66 years. Wow. Yeah, their wedding contract. Yeah, we're a litigious people, and it all starts with the wedding. And so, yeah, I had some feels over that. And those feels turned into resentment and rage as I heard what was basically a Joseph Goebbels-like screed against the movie. Which I have to say, I also hate.
We all hated it, Jonathan.
Well,
all four of us hated this movie.
Strong
all
language.
four of us.
All right. All four of us hated the movie. True. But only you hate Jews.
I will say,
again, I just want to say I am with Shapiro on this one.
Please mark the tape. This is the longest he's taken to bring up Joseph Goebbels. It took him longer than it's ever taken him before. So we are making progress here.
That's funny. You are funny. Panda's wrong. You are funny.
Well, I just got feels listening to you talk.
Yeah,
that was phenomenal.
That gave me feels.
That was
Sorry about your
phenomenal.
dad.
I also got feels. This is where I try to pronounce something and then I get yelled at. The halal.
That's just a stroke. You need to go to a doctor.
The holla?
Like when
Is that right?
Stefani says
Holla?
Ryan ain't no holla back.
Like holla back? Like holla back girl?
Yeah, just like
Okay. It looked amazing. It looked amazing. Did that look good?
The last time we did this, Hanukkah and Rye, you said the food looked terrible.
Yeah.
Did that bread look good?
Now, even this they screw up.
Oh, no.
Unfortunate.
The bread looked wonderful.
Okay.
But if you recall, during the Shabbos meal, they say the prayers correctly. I like that. They say the prayer over the wine. They say the prayer over the candle. There's a prayer that you're supposed to say before you tuck into the bread. They didn't say it.
Do you think it was just one prayer too many
One
for the
too
Hallmark
many.
audience?
Yes. I think they thought, who's going to notice? I noticed.
Exactly. They didn't
Yeah,
know.
more than fair.
More than fair. But at
it
least the
looked
bread
great.
Looked good.
Looked really
yeah,
good.
The bread
It
looked great.
When I come out there, will you make me some?
My beloved wife, Betsy Bournes, makes challah that is to die for. The Jews of Indiana are famous for their baking prowess.
There you have it.
I
They
need
can
it.
actually bake money. They can actually just bake money. They can create more money.
Dan, any feels for you?
Oh, God, no.
Oh, man. Not even the bread?
The bread looked wonderful.
Not even Shapiro? What he was
Jonathan
saying?
said,
What he said, yeah.
and his wedding contract was fantastic.
Yeah.
All of that was excellent.
Yes.
There was a very weird tissue box in this movie.
That was
Yeah.
cool looking.
I don't know if that's a weight. What I don't know what it
That
is.
was weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was very. It was shaped like an old fashioned television set, and there seemed to be like an active photograph in it. And I didn't know what I thought. I thought it was like in an episode of something else, like X-Files or something. I didn't know what was going on.
You thought
there.
that tissue box would be on an episode of X-Files?
X-Files or something like that. Yeah, like
Like it's an alien box?
Yeah, like it's an alien box.
It's just a
Got
TV,
it.
though.
I just wanted,
Yeah.
I wanted to hear you work through it.
Yeah.
Let's take one more quick break. We'll come back and we'll get to the way one and the what the Hallmark here on Deck the Hallmark. Welcome back to Deck the Hallmark. We're talking about the wedding contract. Jonathan Shapiro is here, the writer of Abe Lincoln and the 7 Steps to a Successful. Did I get it right? No.
He whiz. is. I sent it to you at the time.
Yeah, you did. Okay. We're back with Jonathan Shapiro, who is the author of How to Be Abe Lincoln, 7 Steps to Leading a Legendary Life. I had that memorized, and I can't wait to read it. Let's get to the wait what. I'll start with you, Brian. Brian, what made you go wait what while you were watching this movie?
Just a couple, so we can get to the big show, the reason we're all here. They breezed through the agreement to move to L.A., I feel like.
They really did.
Like, I know you got time issues with making a movie and whatnot, but it was just a little quick. I spent more time convincing my family and wife to move to Greenville than...
To be fair, Jake Epstein gets a promotion, double his salary. You were coming here for a podcast.
Yeah, basically to volunteer. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a career.
Yeah, it could be. And Adam's mother, she keeps her first husband's prayer shawl and wedding ring just in a storage compartment at the foot of the bed.
That's nice. That's a kind way of putting it.
Very nice. But for me to put it.
She keeps her most beloved memories in a half moon ottoman at the foot of her bed on top of 3 feet of feather boas. That's where she keeps it.
Yeah.
This is where I keep my 3 favorite things and the most comfortable blanket I have.
You need your deceased father's prayer shawl?
I know exactly.
Where is... Oh, yes, the foot of the bed.
I can't find stamps when I need to send a letter. Like, forget
foot of the bed.
Yeah.
Foot of the bed. Yeah, so...
On top of
the
a very nice blanket. Yeah. Jonathan Shapiro, any wait what's for you while you were watching this movie?
They live in a place where when you go and try cake and they send you home with samples, the samples are entire cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a world.
They got to go home with full cakes.
Full cakes as samples. I kept watching that over and over and over again. When the dyslexic kid finally is able to read the sentence, and they lived happily ever after, he then looks at the teacher and says, "What does that mean?"
Uh-oh.
Now, the fact that they have a 38-year-old guy playing the 12-year-old, that's one. But that's the only scene I've ever experienced that made me hate education. Like, I didn't want her teaching that kid. I wanted that kid sent somewhere.
What I'm hearing is that, as someone who has a master's of education, I feel like what I'm hearing is Jonathan hates teachers.
Wow.
Is what I'm hearing.
Well, that's funny you say that, because my beloved daughter is a teacher.
It's like, is that a Ron DeSantis poster in the background, Jonathan? Like, are those books that are set up to burn later? You hate teachers. This is unbelievable.
And one of the first books we're going to burn is the Abe Lincoln book.
Nothing is safe.
I was also confused. At one point in the movie, they say Rebecca means precious, a woman who is precious. And that's interesting because actually Rebecca means to join or to bind. Then I thought, when did they decide to just make shit up?
Oh, man.
Right then would be my guess.
It was right then and there.
I guess that was that. That's all I got,
They were looking at the name definitions and were like, that doesn't work for what we're doing. Yes. We need to... Could we change the name?
No.
It's
already clear. It's like when you get one of those Chinese script tattoos, you just decide what it means.
Was Rebecca in the list there's a list of patriarchs and a list of matriarchs, and they're like the SEC football. They're ranked.
Sure.
So Sarah is the Alabama of Jewish matriarchs, and Rebecca is Auburn, right? Number 2. So I respected that they didn't go with Sarah. I respected it. But just to make up, why don't they call Rebecca means have more cake. Rebecca means buy greeting cards. Just make it up. What the hell? They're just Jews.
Oh my God.
No one will figure it out.
Yeah.
I have a few. If you guys,
I would
will
love
let me.
to hear them, Brand.
Before Adam comes over to meet the family for the first time, they're talking, and she's like, "He's not my Adam yet. We can't say my Adam. He's not my Adam yet." And Dad says, "I give him until halfway through dessert, until he will be your Adam," which I took as he won't know for sure if this is the person for her until at least halfway through dessert. Up until that point, verdict's out. But halfway through dessert, he's finally going to be convinced that this is the girl for him. It was an interesting thing to say. He's not going to like her for her. He's going to like her for the dessert.
Her for dessert.
Listen, I
That's some Trey Gowdy thinking. Right there. That's some Trey Gowdy.
Yeah.
So how do my wife has been pregnant twice, and there were some cravings that happened, and they were all well and good. I don't if she wanted to eat pickles while eating chocolate cake, I would have had to leave the room.
Yeah.
I honestly can't think of a nastier combinations of food than really anything with pickles, because that's how much I hate them. But chocolate cake with pickles?
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot to take in there. It's a lot to take in there. And I this guy, we've talked about how he was a track star in college.
Yeah. At Northwestern.
At Northwestern,
Big
of
Ten
course.
powerhouse.
Big Ten school.
Yeah.
Competing against Ohio State. Him going out there nervously puking and mincing around.
Before he runs the 100-meter hurdles.
Yeah. No big deal. No big deal at all. And it's good to know that he's still in shape, because he runs from, honestly, don't know how far away to the chapel. Did not break a sweat.
Put his jacket on.
He did take his jacket off, so that cooled him down a little bit. But an impressive feat nonetheless to run a good distance. No sweat. He's still in shape. Get that man back on the old track.
The thing is, he was a hurdler, and yet he couldn't clear her ankles in the beginning of the game.
Got him, Dano.
Does she teach one student?
Yeah.
One?
Afraid so.
I know, look, a lot of the teachers don't get paid enough money, and I think we can all agree on that, but
Can we?
she has to, what?
Huh?
This is a hot take. You think teachers get paid too much?
No. No.
I'm just saying.
Wow.
It's such
Thank
a
you,
rewarding.
Governor DeSantis. The book burning is at the back of the building.
Yeah. That's the secret Brian hides. Is he looks great, Jonathan, but
Because I can't stop looking at it. And I in my fantasy world, we're in an elevator that gets stuck, and it's very cold, and we have to hold each other because
it's cold in that elevator shaft. Yeah.
Sounds great.
I just know this.
Sorry, I'm just talking to my friend. Go ahead.
I just know this. We have teachers in Hallmark movies that will teach a class and then have the rest of the day free somehow, and that's weird. But to only teach one student all day is not something that a teacher does. Like, they'll have maybe one-on-one sessions with different kids all day, but this is an impressive amount of individualized education here. And I'm not entirely sure you're allowed to Jane Austen a script as much as this one.
There's a lot of Jane Austen.
There has to be some sort of limit. Like, everything can't, like, when he quotes Jane Austen to her, that's fine. But when they sit on the bench and he literally just puts their names back there and she's like, I feel like I'm in a Jane Austen novel. Yeah. Why? Because you're on a bench? Like, I don't understand. Like, get a different reference, bro. Like, you can
Between Jane Austen and the movie quotes.
Yeah, the movie quotes are tough, and I'll get there next, which is if you and your significant other, or even your best boy, or like, we'll quote movies. We never say the movie after we quote it. We don't say, we're not like, like, you had me at a low, Jerry Maguire. You don't do that. You just say the quote. Yeah. You say the quote and you move along. You don't do this bit where you don't call it that. Arrested Development. You don't do that. You don't like say the thing afterwards. That's not how that works at all. What are they? Are they like in a trivia game show that I'm not aware of?
Maybe.
At one point, they're looking at how fancy this house is, and Jake Epstein lines up for go big or go home, and somewhere along the way, his brain says that's not the saying. And so instead he says, go big or don't go, which isn't, that's not, no.
It's a Northwestern
no.
saying.
You know what they
Classic
say?
Northwestern
Go
track.
big or don't go.
Star Wars.
Star Wars. Did somehow we not,
The firm.
we couldn't buy the rights to go big or go home?
Yeah.
Like, what happened there?
This is the kind of funny that used to be on this show. This.
I'm glad I could still help out a little bit.
That's hysterical. See, that's funny. More of that. And just listen. Everything else.
Oh,
Less
man.
movie talk.
More than fair.
Yeah. And for some reason, this guy that runs the Body Now place in Los Angeles has taken the ad campaign, started a commercial, had them shoot the entire commercial, and has yet to sign a contract with the ad firm.
He hasn't signed it yet.
He hasn't signed it yet. This guy keeps going, Jake, we got to have you out west because they've not signed the contract yet. Well, you're doing all the work first. Well, maybe that's why he hasn't signed the contract, is because you're giving him all the work for free.
Give it away.
You have to, guys, this is just 101 here. Sign the contract before you shoot a second at that commercial. It's pretty straightforward. Yeah. You keep dangling this carrot like, I'm not going to sign the contract unless I make $1 million. Well, he'll never sign it. So that was really stupid.
We give it away. First kid.
We give it away. No, Richie Rich.
Richie
nice
Rich.
Try, though. Yeah. Nice try. Yeah, come on.
I'll get
Richie
it. I'll
Rich
get
quote,
it. I'm sorry.
Past me. And then the dude who runs Body Now, his wife says, you only feel as good as you look. Some people call that shallow. I call it true.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, classic.
That is the line in the movie.
That is one, like, we didn't get one pass at this script. Nobody got somebody on the line and went, there's only 2 prayers, and somebody says, some people call it shallow, I call it true. No? All right, just put it out there. That's good. Just was a one-take Jake situation.
They were too
Just
busy
go there,
changing
go.
what Rebecca means.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. They probably forgot that Jacob married Leah first and then had to get to Rebecca. They didn't go to that. Am I right?
Yeah, and she was, by the way, the tradition is that Rebecca was 14 when she married Isaac.
Good gosh.
40. So
We don't need to talk about
That's
that.
enough.
Not in this movie. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Let's get to What the Hallmark. It's where we ask any questions that we have that we would like some answers to after watching this movie. Brian, what are you still wondering? What's keeping you up at night?
Well, piggyback on what Dan you were talking about with the Body Now guy not signing a contract.
I don't get it.
Yet. This movie is called The Wedding Contract.
That's right.
Contracts are so important.
They understand
in this movie.
what contracts do. Yes.
Why hasn't he signed? It's just so confusing. It loses credibility with this movie a little bit. Like, contracts are in the title. Like, you got to deal with the contract. So that was super confusing. The only other question I had was actually for Jonathan. Where do you stand on vow renewals, Jonathan? We were talking about this a few episodes ago.
Like somebody invites you to a vow renewal. Are
ceremony?
you angry? Or are you begrudgingly attended? Or are you like...
I cut them off.
Yeah,
yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Exactly.
You get it.
That's right.
I cut them
That's
off
right.
because I thought that only existed in sitcoms from the 60s.
Yeah,
It should, yeah.
Jonathan understands.
Yeah.
Well, I will take Jonathan off my list.
Or do what I think should happen, which is all marriage contracts should be on a year-to-year basis. They should be like the contract Huggins had at West Virginia before he quit. I just think every year you got to come up for renewal.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
But you can do like different variations. Like, I'm signing a 5-year contract.
5-year deal.
5-year
Yeah, with
contract
a
to you.
It's a 2-year groom option.
Yes, yes.
I like that.
Jonathan, what are you still wondering about?
She wants twins. In the Bible, Rebecca had twins.
Mm-hmm.
The twins were Jacob and Esau.
Yeah.
And they're the epitome of the worst possible twins you could ever
It all
have.
turned out
The
fine.
Bible goes on to say that God only loved one of those 2.
Rebecca, in the Bible, helps Jacob fool Esau.
That's right.
So she's horrible mother to one of the twins. And my question is, is she a big fan of Mangala? Because in terms of twins, like the worst example you could imagine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had questions about that.
Yeah, that's real bad there. That is just some very light level work by the movie team here to be like, well, Rebecca in the Bible had twins. Put it in the movie. Not great. Not what we need.
Some might call it shallow.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, that's
Forget
right.
what she calls it.
I have one, which is his best friend, coworker, whatever.
His bro, yeah.
His bro,
Yeah.
who's there, his best man. When he finds out that he is engaged to be married, he slips in this fact that he has been married once, but has been engaged 3 times.
Yeah, and we get nothing else about it.
And that's it. That's just, he says it, and that's what we have to work with. And so I would love to know more about that and where in the story did the marriage like, is he still married? Is there an engagement on either side of that? I just got lots of questions about that. Dano?
More than fair. I want to know how much money the Body Now people have,
Yeah.
because they said that they bought an 18,000 square foot house in Beverly Hills. And I am not a real estate agent, nor do I live in California, but just a cursory search of that area of the country would lead you to find that this is like $100 million for a place to live.
Yeah.
And they run a gym, best I can figure.
It's a lifestyle brand.
Whatever it is, that is
Well, he made his money on a product.
Yeah, they went
said.
big. They did not go. They went big.
This raises a question about the gym owner. I don't know if you noticed some of the wide shots. He's 560 pounds.
He's gigantic.
Yeah, he's not in fighting shape, I would say.
No, he's an enormous man.
Yeah.
He wears a size 60 fat suit, and I don't know that he's the best.
He walks into the table.
What does it say about me
and he
that I
goes,
thought he looked
don't
good?
Don't even measure me. I'm a size 60 fat. Is what he says.
I'll be at the soup plantation while you're cleaning the suit, which is the size of a ship sail. And the other thing is, it's not a question so much as a statement. If you're going to make a movie as boring as this one called The Wedding Contract, doesn't the sequel have to be The Insurance Contract?
Yeah.
Then don't you have to do one about writing the will?
Oh.
And then isn't the last one in the series Adam's colonoscopy?
Yeah, the contract trilogy. I like this. I like it already.
Why not? Why
This is
not?
Good.
Why not?
Good stuff.
We did it.
We did do it.
Jonathan Shapiro, thank you so much for joining us. How to Be Abe Lincoln, 7 Steps to Leading a Legendary Life is coming out.
You complete me. Jerry Maguire.
There it is.
October's when it comes out. The next.
It's reasonably priced, and honestly, if it doesn't get to Audible, I'll go and sit in the back of your car and read it to you.
I like that. That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking for.
Hey, Doris, guys, thank you.
I love you, buddy. And until next time, maybe the first to wish you a
Merry
Hanukkah.
Deck the Hallmark is a Bramble Jam podcast. It's produced by Aaron Shea. For more information on Deck the Hallmark, you can go to deckthehallmark.com. For more information on the Deck the Hallmark family, you can go to bramblejamplus.com. Deck the Hallmark is presented by Philo TV. For a free trial of Philo, go to philo.tv/DTH.